For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Dan Weber for instant analysis of USC's third player-run practice of the summer, but it kind of felt like the first official PRP today, and that was because the incoming freshmen finally joined the rest of the players, and we got to see JT Daniels throw for the first time, Amon-Ra St. Brown in that slot position. We also saw a lot of Olaijah Griffin. Those three kind of really stood out as far as incoming freshmen in today's PRP. But Dan, what were your thoughts, your general thoughts from today?
JT who? He's probably as advertised plus some. The first thing you notice is he's a little bigger than you remember him from the fall even. A little thicker, a little more filled out, which if you're 18, you're probably still growing. He came out fourth of the quarterbacks, and it was interesting. The other three were already out, and he was still 5:19. He came out for a 5:30 workout. But the other three already had their white visors on, and JT didn't have a visor, didn't put a visor on. Then maybe he remembers 2013 and Lane Kiffin. I don't know, but he's his own guy. He's really good. I mean, he's just natural. He's relaxed. He's confident. He throws a deep ball with just amazing assuredness. And just effortlessly.
Yep.
And it was just. And if you had to pick, who's the most confident guy in what they were doing, it was JT. I mean, there's a confidence that he kind of exudes, and I think, he had an advantage, I think, with Amon-Ra St. Brown. He got to throw to him a lot. And the thing you noticed about Amon-Ra when he goes by is he is really, thick and strong. Yeah. And but his hands are, you don't often see that combination of a guy with that kind of, strength and, just obviously built himself up. There have been times when those kind of guys tend to kind of maybe with their wrists and their hands, they've been pushing so much weight that it's not that easy to have great hands. And his hands are so soft, and he catches the ball so precisely. He's a special player. So again, I know people saying, well, you're going to overhype or whatever. You just say this is what's happening. I think we talked about at the very end. He throws the deep ball so well. It was interesting that they all the quarterbacks stayed afterwards. But then after he left, Jack Sears and Matt Fink were still out there throwing the 50-yard down the field pass. I think there's no question he does it so well, and he puts so much air under it, and still has the ability to have, whoever the receiver is to be able to just run directly under it, catch it on the dead run in a perfect place. Again, it's going to sound like we're going on and on. He throws a very catchable ball, which means that front point is up just a little bit. He can throw it, he can really drill it. I think we only saw him once or twice tonight where he just really unloaded. He just throws it kind of with an ease and gets it where he if you look at everybody, he tends to throw the ball before the cut is made, and when they turn and after the cut, there's the ball, and he does not seem to have to wait to see where the cut is going to be or when it's going to be. He just has the ability, if you can deliver it on time, on target, and throw it where only your guy can catch it, you're in pretty good shape. So it was a pretty good first night, I think, for JT.
Mm-hmm. You essentially took everything I was about to say about JT out of my mouth, but I think that's the thing that stood out to me, and I know we talked about it, the effortlessness, the accuracy that JT has, and what works to his advantage is that he can come out here, look comfortable, have fun playing, and he doesn't really have anything to lose. There's that advantage that he has compared to Matt Fink or Jack Sears, who the pressure is kind of on now that JT's out here.
Yeah, and he looks comfortable in the pocket. He just is very very confident. I mean, he'd be looking this way or looking that way, and getting what exactly you're going to run on this play, and then the ball is snapped, and he just doesn't seem like he's playing with a great deal of pressure on him. He just seems, awfully, and obviously not a pass rush and all that, but really comfortable in the pocket. He had one little at the very end. We're not sure what happened. It was a kind of a bad snap, and ball's off. And takes it, hits his hand, bounces. He scoops it up nicely, and he goes to dump it off. And for some reason, he dumped it off to Christian Rector. Now, who the defense just went crazy because he'd been almost perfect all night. And, it's not easy to, they're all, everybody's wearing the same jerseys, or, different, all mixed up jerseys, so there's no offense against defense and all that. But other than that, he was almost as flawless as you could be for tonight.
Mm-hmm. As I mentioned earlier, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Olaijah Griffin really stood out to me. They looked the most comfortable. I made a comment to you during the practice that it almost looked like they were sophomores. Kind of, they had their groove already, and this is their first practice. Olaijah Griffin had a couple pass breakups. The St. Brown to Daniels to St. Brown connection is still very strong. Amon-Ra only dropped a couple of balls, if that.
I think maybe only one, and that was a ball behind him. I think the other thing you see with him is he's got the ability now, obviously it's that connection with JT, to make that cut over the middle. And, this has not been a team that's thrown the ball, really all that well over the middle. And Amon-Ra seemed to be able to do that. Got one touchdown on a deep post. JT would have had two in the first 11 on 11, but Michael Pittman very well covered ball, basically at the goal line, and kind of a scrum and jumping forward. It hits both hands, hits him in kind of in the sternum. He couldn't quite hold on to it, but each of the other quarterbacks threw one touchdown. But this was JT's night. There's no question about it.
And of course, this is just one practice, so you take it with a grain of salt. But it did seem like the incoming freshman added a level of what's the word I'm looking for? Competition. That's the word. They added a level of competition to the PRP. Last incident analysis, we said they were a little bit going through the motions. It seemed like there was a little bit of fire, and definitely some mentorship going on with the older players and the younger players. So I think having the incoming freshmen and adding them in definitely helped.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. And having the situation that they have a quarterback. I mean, it's kind of a natural for, absolutely, the PRPs, as much as, you don't want them to be, are pretty much quarterback driven. They've always been kind of quarterback driven. It used to, they used to be called summer passing. And so that's a big part of what they're doing. And when you have a situation with JT showing up with the two, incumbent, holdover, whatever, from the spring and from last year, makes for a very interesting mix. And then the nice thing for JT, gets to bring his own receiver with him. And Amon-Ra is the real deal. I mean, I don't think there's so. And I know the question been around is, can you keep JT off the field? And I guess the other question will be, can you keep Amon-Ra off the field? In terms of who's going to be starting that first game. It's going to be very interesting. I'm real interested in seeing how this plays out. I think it gives you kind of a storyline for this summer that it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, it was fun today, so I'm sure it will be fun. But as you probably have learned by now, today was basically the incoming freshman day for the PRP. Was there anything else, Dan, that you saw that stood out in today's practice?
Well, I think we can watch the passing game really well from where we are at the top of Cromwell or Loker Stadium, because they went inside Howard Jones again. Yeah. So we're not getting to see, you've got the defensive lineman in one corner and the offensive lineman in the other corner. I did notice just 10 offensive linemen. It doesn't probably seem enough. It doesn't seem like you're hoping that you're going to end up with more guys than that. 10 is it's tough to start out. You're hoping for 12. And the D-line guys look like they're working hard. They do a lot of individual stuff with the bags and the sled, and you see Porter Gustin kind of standing over them, looking at them and all that. But again, they're on the other side of where they're running the 7-on-7 and the 11-on-11 and where the receivers are and where the DBs are. So we don't get to see them quite as much as if we're on the field. You gotta get a little more of a feel for those guys. Yeah. We do see the passing game probably better.
Mm-hmm. As far as the numbers go, they were a little off considering you added in the freshmen. The only freshman we did not see was Isaac Taylor-Stewart. We don't really know what that situation is. He might have a schedule conflict, but the numbers were a little bit lower, even though you add those 16 or 17 freshmen in. Why do you think that was?
Well, I think we saw Cedric Ware showed up and played a little defense. He was in his street clothes and with a backpack on and that. He's a senior. We're guessing he's probably going to class. He left early. I'm not sure, what the number situation, because it was 71 the other day. So again, we'll see how these numbers play out as they go along. But I think the number I had was 69 for tonight. So that was probably a little bit below what you might have expected. I didn't notice, and Daniel Matterbaby's not back yet, and Olawale Batiko hasn't been there yet. And Stephen Carr, I guess, was around like he was last week before practice, but he wasn't out on the field. So, a few guys who are probably going to be there when you get to the UNLV game September 1st. But as far as the overall numbers, I don't know. I'd like to come up with an answer.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, I guess that's going to wrap it up for the third PRP of June. For Dan Weber, I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out uscfootball.com.